Okay, students. So today I'm going to start with one topic. Okay, it's a very small topic. So I'm going to teach you this topic, and then I'm going to start with the last topic of your unit one. Okay, so then your unit one will be over. So, does anyone know? You may have learned this topic in C programming. Okay, but does anyone know what is palindrome? What is a palindrome? You can type in the chat if you know what's a palindrome. Yes. So any word or a sentence where the sequence is the same when you read from both the sides. So you read from left to right or you read from right to left and you get the same sequence. Then yeah, for example, this is an example of a palindrome what Abhishek has put. The number 101. You could have numbers or you could have had words also which are of letter type. So those are examples of palindromes. So today we are going to see one algorithm how we can detect a palindrome using queues. Okay. So basically we are going to use queues and stacks both. So today now we'll see how to detect palindromes using queues. Okay. So I hope yesterday evening asked you all to revise the concept of queues. I hope you have revised. You can write down this topic on your books and we're going to start. So basically we are going to recognize palindrome using queues, and this is the application of queue. If someone asks you in the exams for application, give an example of application of queues, you can give this one. Okay, this is one of the applications. There are many application of queues. So basically, like we have already discussed, a palindrome is a string that reads the same when you read it forward as well as backward. So for example, I put one sentence here. Okay, in English it doesn't make that much sense, but if you read it forwards as well as backwards, it is the same. Okay. So another example of palindrome could have been the word madam. So when you read this word madam forwards as well as backwards, it remains the same. Okay. So what we are going to do is basically we are going to store this. Suppose we are going to take, we're going to write a program for this. Okay. So suppose we are going to write a program for it. How we are going to write for it? So I'll just tell how it is to be solved. How we are going to detect a palindrome using queues. So you're going to take this sentence or the word that is in the input and store it in a character array. Okay. Because you're going to store it in a character array because whatever you are entering is a string. So once you've stored the input in an array, then next you're going to define one stack and one queue. Okay. Then you're going to store your entire string inside the queue. You're going to store the entire string also inside the stack. So once you've stored the string inside the stack and the queue, the next step will be pop the topmost element from the stack, okay, and delete one element from the queue. So whenever deletion happens in a queue, deletion happens at what end of the queue? Can you type in the chat? Deletion and insertion in queues, at which end set happens? Deletion in the queue happens at which end? Can Savishet tell me? You can type in the chat. Is Sabi there? Deletion happens from the front, correct. And insertion will happen from the rear. So for example, in this diagram that we have, the strategy is going to be very simple. You have taken the input in the array, store the contents of the entire array onto the stack, and store the entire input onto the queue. Then start deleting one by one element from the stack and one element from the queue. Suppose this is the top of the stack. First you will delete this A, okay, and then you will delete whatever is there in front. So suppose this is the front, for example, okay. So then you delete this A and this A and compare. If it is equal, then you will delete the next one. So you delete B and delete B. So you delete one B from the stack, delete the next element from the queue, compare. So you will keep doing this as long as the elements that you are deleting and comparing are equal. Okay, and if you keep comparing and you reach the end of the queue and the stack and they become empty, that means you have found a palindrome. Otherwise, if there is a mismatch, then you're going to declare that the string that has been entered is not a palindrome. Okay, so for example, this will be your algorithm. So the first step will be take the string as an array, push it onto the stack, enqueue to the queue. Second will be pop the element from the stack and pop one element and dequeue one element from the queue. Compare the characters. If the characters are not equal, then you will print some error message or return the value as false. Otherwise, if both the characters are equal, then you will go back to the step 2. So again you will pop one element, dequeue one element from the queue, and you will keep continuing till the stack and the queue becomes empty. Okay, so I'll just show you one example here how that will work. So suppose you are having, this is your input array. Okay, what I've just highlighted is the input array, and see I've stored one palindrome here. The word is madam. So in your first step, what you're going to do, initially the value of your front and rear is equal to -1. Okay, I'll just write here. So initially the front equal to rear will be equal to -1. Okay, and you are going to have one value top of the stack. At top of the stack also initially value will be equal to -1. Okay, now so your first step when you're going to write the program, okay, please you can write down also what I'm telling you. So your first step when you're going to write, because you will be writing this program later on, so the first step in your program will be to take this input. Okay, take one string as an input and store it in some array. I've called the array, in my case I'm calling the array as input only. You can give any name. Okay, and the string is always terminated with a null character. That's why I put this. You don't have to enter the null character. Automatically C adds that. Your compiler adds it to your array when it's a string. So you will just be entering your correct word, whatever word you want to check for the palindrome. So once you have taken the input, the next step will be storing this word in the stack and the queue. Okay, so you're going to call the enqueue function for queue, and you're going to call the push function separately. Okay, so you pass this array to the enqueue function and store this word inside the queue. Okay, so suppose now I start reading this array from the left to right. So I start with index 0 and I read this letter M. When I enqueue it, how do we enqueue? Let me ask someone. Let's see if you have revised. Carson, when we do a enqueue operation, which variable do we use, the front or the rear variable? No, I could not hear you.
Front.
When we do enqueue.
So the array, thank you. DQ is the other thing.
Correct. So when we do NQ, we use the front. So how we do? When we do NQ, we use the rare variable. So how we do the rare? How we work with the rare variable? How we insert? What is the operation? The first step is what? Do we increment or decrement rare? Yes,
So repeat
correct.
the question.
Yeah, I was asking whether we increment or decrement rare. So,
Okay, increment.
so like multiplication, I already have answered. It is we increment. So here, what we're going to do is, I'm just revising with you all also at the same time. So what we are doing is we increment the value of rare. So rare value will become equal to 0. Okay, and then I insert this value into the here. Now, very first time when we do NQ operation, what we should also take care, what is the condition we should take care when we do the first time NQ? What is the current value of front? Current value of front is equal to -1, right? So when we do the first insert operation in a queue, what should we do with front? Is the front variable at a proper index? We should increment it to 0. Correct. So what is the condition that we should check before we increment it to 0? See here, this is the first insert I have done. Like Carson has already said, whenever we are doing NQ, we use the rare. So I've used this rare, I incremented it, okay, and I've inserted the first element. Should I go and insert the next element, or should I do something with front? Yes. Can someone tell me, Joshua? Should I go and insert the next element, or should I do something with front? Yes, like Cheryl and they are saying we should, if front is equal to -1, then I should make front equal to 0. So if front is equal to -1, then I will make front equal to 0. This I always NQ is done using the rare variable, but only when we do the first NQ, that time we have to check for this condition which is just been typed by your classmate. So if front equal to -1, we have to make front equal to 0. Why do we do like that? Can you tell me, Maxwell? Why do we check for this condition? Why do we have to make front equal to 0? Why this condition we are checking? What Athena and Cheryl had just typed. Why do we check for that condition? Huh? Why do we check for the condition? Because it's the first element, correct, Sunrish. So front always will point to your first element of the queue and rear will point to the last element. So right now, as you can see in your queue, we are having only one element. So the first element it is, so it's pointed by front, and last element, so it is pointed by rear. Okay. Henceforth, when we do NQ, only rear will be incremented and front will not change. Okay. So now next time when I read this variable A, what will happen? Rear will be incremented by 1 and front will remain as it is. So this will become here like this. Okay. Again, now I want to insert D. D will get inserted and rear will get will be incremented. I want to put the next input A. Okay. Then again rear will be incremented and you will insert A. Next you want to enter M. You will increment rear and you will insert M. Okay. And you will do only till here. You are not going to insert the null. So you are going to read your input only from left to right till you reach the end of the string. So your string is only this much color, which I have just highlighted. You are going to only insert that much in your queue. Okay, so once you have inserted into your queue, the same thing you have to do with your stack. You're going to push this input onto the stack. So first you are having M, you read this first from left to right, so you will read M. What you will do, increment your top of the stack. So when you increment your top of the stack will become equal to 0, and you will insert M here. Then you want to put A, this A inside the stack, so you want to push it. So again you will increment top of the stack, you will put here A. Then you want to put B, increment top of the stack, put B. Then you want to put again A, increment top of the stack, put A. Then you want to put M, increment of the stack, and you will put M. Okay, so once you have entered your input in both the queue and the stack, the contents of your queue and your stack will look somewhat like this. Okay, top of the stack will be at the topmost, the variable top will be at the topmost index, that is 4. Okay, and your front and rear will be like this. Front will be pointing to the first element of the queue, rear will be pointing to the last element of the queue. Okay, now if you look at this algorithm that I just told you, so we have done this step 1. Okay, what was the step 1? Take the string as a character array, and once you have taken it, push it to the stack and enqueue to the queue. So once you have stored this, you have to do you have to repeat the steps 2, 3, and 4. So now you are going to pop one element from the stack, one element from the queue, compare them, and check if they are equal. If they are equal, again you repeat step 2. If they are not equal, then you will do step 3, and then you will say that the word is not a palindrome. So we'll do it quickly and see. Okay, so till here, any doubts? Till here what I just told you, is there any doubt? So this part of your program will be taking input. Here you will be doing the enqueue operation, and here you will be doing the push operation. Okay, so let's continue. So next step is deletion happens from the front in a queue. Okay, so now let's check. So I'll delete this first element from the queue. Okay, suppose it is here. Okay, I'll just highlight it in yellow, and I delete the topmost element. I'll pop the topmost element from the stack. So I deleted this topmost element from the stack. Compare this both. Okay, if they are equal, so when you delete from the queue, front gets moved to the next element in your queue here. So you compare this. If they are equal, again you will delete one element from the queue and pop one element from the stack and compare. So again let's delete. So whenever you're deleting from the front. So you delete this. So when you delete, you will get A here, and front will move ahead. Delete from the stack, so you get A here. So again they are equal. Since they are equal, continue. So again you delete from the queue, so you will delete D. Front will move ahead. Pop from the stack. So when you pop from the stack, you will get D here. Again this will get decremented. Compare. So when you compare, it is equal. So again you continue. Delete from here. So front will move ahead here. Delete from the stack also. So what will happen? Top of the stack will get decremented. Okay. Again this is equal. So what you will do? Delete the last element from the queue. So when you delete this, you get M here, and delete from the stack, you get M here. Again it will be equal. Okay. So Since you have reached the end of the queue, queue is become empty and the stack is become empty, and till now everything was equal. Okay, so you will declare that the string is a palindrome. When will you declare the string is palindrome? When you have kept on comparing, and after the end of comparing, you have reached the end of the string. Okay, and the queue is become empty, and stack is also simultaneously empty. Okay, then you will declare that it is a palindrome. Got it? So suppose I had to enter something like this. Say I had to enter one word which was not a palindrome. So for example, say something like this. Okay. So again, what you would have done, you would have stored this entire thing in the queue and you would have stored it in the stack. Okay. So your front would have been here and rear would have been here. Top of the stack would have been here. Okay. Something like this it would have been. Now, when you compare, you delete from the queue. So when you delete, you will get here W. Okay, so you deleted this. And when you delete from the stack, you would have deleted E. So you would have popped E. So you would have got here E. And your top of the stack would be here. Okay. So now when you compare, you can see this is not equal. Okay. So you would have said, you would have stopped execution right here. Since there is a mismatch. So you would have said, this is not a palindrome. And you would have stopped the execution. Okay. So that is what is your third step here. When you compare and if the characters are not equal, then you will return the message that it is not a palindrome. Clear? So any doubts about this algorithm, how it is working? So basically your program is going to consist of the NQ and the DQ operations. Okay. NQ and DQ operations and the push and the pop operations. So once you do that, then you have to implement the logic for comparing. Once you DQ and once you pop, you have to have the logic for comparing. If the comparison gives you a equal to, then you have to continue with the DQ and the pop. But if it gives you a mismatch, then you have to declare that it's not a palindrome and stop. And after dequeuing and popping, if you get the queue empty and stack empty, then you're going to declare that it's a palindrome. So I hope you have understood how it is working. Any doubts here about how this algorithm works? Anyone has any questions? So after IT, I will be asking you to write this program. Okay, so a program on this I may not ask you for your current IT. Okay, so but this algorithm could be asked. You could be asked to explain an example how it works. Then you have to explain something like this. I've given you the explanation. I've shown you an example of a palindrome and I've shown you an example of a not a palindrome. Then you have to be able to write this, describe this algorithm with the help of an example. Okay. So any questions about this algorithm? No questions? Okay. I'll proceed then. Okay. Next topic that we are going to see is going to study what is known as circular queues. We're going to study circular queues using arrays. And this is the last topic of unit 1 for you. Okay. So this circular queue is mainly used because there's some limitation of a linear queue. The queue that we had studied previously, okay, there was some limitation of that. So could anyone tell me what was the limitation of that queue? Can Nirzar tell me? Can Nirzar tell me what was the limitation of the queue? Ria is Ria Nirzar? Is Nirzar there? Okay, no problem, Ria. I just want to see Nirzar. Nirzar is not there. Oyster. Oyster. What's the limitation of the queue? If you're speaking, I can't hear you. I can't hear you, Oyster, if you're speaking. You can. Nizar, are you there? Yes. What you mean by memory is? What you mean by memory? Okay, let's see. So what basically I think you all are trying to tell is this: when we are deleting, okay, when we are deleting, so after deleting the first two elements, front is present at index 2. Okay. So now if I want to insert one more element, insertion is done by using which variable? Insertion is done by using the array variable. So if I want to insert one more element here, it's not possible because I've reached the end of the array. Rare is present at the last index in my array, and I don't have any more space in the array. Since I don't have index 5, 6, 7, 8. But actually index 0 and 1, there is no element there. Okay, so I could have stored some value in index 0 or 1, but the present logic of the linear queue does not allow me to go back from this index to index 0. That's why I was not able to store any values here, although I had space in the array. Okay, this was what we had already discussed when we were studying this program on, and we were discussing about linear arrays. Okay, so anyone has any questions about that before we proceed? Does everyone know what was this thing that we had discussed 1 week back? Does anyone not understand this? Okay, any good? So I think everyone knows about it. Okay, so let's proceed. So what someone came up with the idea is, like last time I remember when we were discussing this, there were some more students, I think it was Germano, and there were some other students who were saying we could do array shifting, we could shift the elements, we could do something, and those all solutions that they were giving. Okay, so similarly someone else has come up with a concept that we'll make this queue as a circle. So basically what you mean by a circle is, okay, so basically what they wanted to do is, once we reach the last element here, okay, since we cannot insert more values here, we do not have more array indexes here, so we can instead go back to the first index. So if I want to insert more values, I take this variable and I go back here. I take this variable and go back to index 0. Okay. So now in this case, if I would say NQ, some value say 1000. Okay, if I would say NQ value 1000, so this array would be incremented in such a way. I'll show you how we are going to increment it. Array would be incremented in such a way that we come back to index 0. Okay, and this 1000 would get inserted here. Again, if I say NQ, I say NQ 50, then array would be incremented. Array would come here to index 1 and 50 would be inserted. So it would basically work in a circular fashion. Okay, so from the last index of the array, we come back to the first index, and the first index is normally 0. So from the last index, we come back to the first index. So that type of a queue would be known as a circular queue. So basically, someone came up with that concept of a circular queue to overcome the disadvantage of a linear queue. Okay, and today we are going to see how the circular queue can be implemented. So you can just read this. You all have already told me the answer. So this was the drawback of that linear queue. So you can just read it. You all have already told me this. So whatever is written in diagram form means this value of front is very high, okay, and insertion can only take place at rare. So therefore, we could not use this previous two values. So to overcome that, we came up with this something known as a circular queue. Okay. So in a circular queue, again the variables that are there, the meaning of front and rear is the same. Okay. Front will point to the first element and rear will point to the last element. And the way it works is also same. When we want to do NQ operation, we will use the rear. And when we want to do the DQ operation, we will use the front. So that meaning of front and rear remains the same. Okay. So anyone, any doubts about this till here before I actually show you how this is to be implemented? Anyone has any question? Okay, I'll move ahead. If you have any questions, you can type. So basically, this is the way your NQ operation will work. Okay. I'll share this PPT with you so you can later on, once I explain you an example, you can check this out. Okay. Right now it may be a little difficult. Okay. Again, some values here need to be changed. Okay, I'll tell you when we are here. Some values are wrong. I've just noticed it just before the class. Okay, so for example, here initially the value of front and rear should be equal to -1. So by mistake it is come as 0. Okay, so for example, here in this line here, and the delete operation also here initially it should be equal to 0. Instead of that, it is come as 1. So some things have to be changed. So I will correct that and I will put the PPT up for you all. Okay. So basically this is your, I'll share this PPT with you. So don't worry about this. You can, I'll show you the operation of this NQ, how it works. So you can just consider this. Okay. You can, if you want, you can draw simultaneously on your books quickly how it is getting inserted, how you are going to NQ and how you are going to DQ. So in a normal queue, if you were doing the NQ operation, okay, if you are doing the NQ operation in your normal queue, what you would have done is you would have incremented array like this. You would have said array equal to array plus 1. Okay. Basically, this is what you would have done in your linear queue. You would have incremented your array like this. Okay. Now, since I told you in a circular queue, from the last index, we want to come back to the first index. In order for that to happen, we use something like this. Okay. Basically, we use this. We increment array by 1. Okay. But then we use the modulus operator and divide it by the size of the queue. So, for example, in this example, I've taken the size of the queue as n equal to 5. Okay. I've taken the size as n equal to 5. So, I increment my array variable by 1, and then I use a modulus operator and I divide it by the size of the queue. Similarly, when I do dequeue, again dequeue, I increment the front variable by 1 and divide it by the modulus operator by the size of the queue. So in a normal queue, you would have just done dequeue like this. You would have just have front incremented by 1. So this would have been what you are doing in your normal linear queue. Okay. So instead of this, now we are no longer doing this. What I've just highlighted. Instead of this is the operation that we are going to perform. Okay. So I just delete this. You can write down this both and keep if you want. Okay. Again, you are going to write a program for this also. Pay attention to this concept. Okay. So let's try and see. I'll show you all the conditions that we require for NQ and DQ. Okay. So initially, when your queue is empty, now I've taken this queue, size is 5. Okay. Size is given by this variable n. So initially, the value of front end array is equal to -1. Okay. Then I want to NQ one value 10. So when I want to NQ, what I will do? Okay, we'll just do it for 1 or 2 elements, we'll do it step by step and then we'll see. So now I want to NQ this value 10. Okay, so when you're doing this NQ, you have to use this formula here that has been given. Rare equal to rare plus 1 mod n. Okay, when you're going to apply that formula, can you apply that formula and tell me what will be the answer? Apply this formula here that I've just made red. Apply this formula and tell me what will be the value of rare. What will be the value of rare? Apply this formula. I'll write a calculation here. Okay, not to waste time. So you will have rare equal to, okay, rare previous value here, you can see here, previous value of rare was -1. -1 plus 1. Okay. Mod value of n is 5. Okay. So -1 plus 1 value will be equal to 0. You will get here 0 mod 5. Okay. So when you do 0 mod 5, what will be the answer? What is the modulus operator? I hope you know. Do you all know what is the modulus operator? Just type in the chat if you know or you don't know modulus operator. Do you know what is the output of that if you use a modulus operator? Correct. All those who have typed, it gives the remainder. So now when you do 0 divided by 5, basically what you are doing, you are having 0 here and you are dividing it by 5. Can you divide it? No. So what will be the remainder? You cannot divide it, right? So the remainder of this will be 0 itself. So the value of R will be equal to 0. Clear? How I am getting value of R? value of r will be equal to 0. Okay, understood? So 0 mod 5, you get the value of r equal to 0. So that's why here I will get, here I will get r. R will be present at this index 0. Okay, and wherever r is present, there I insert the value that I want to insert, that is 10. Okay, like previously you have just told me, whenever you do the first NQ, you want to check for this condition. Okay, it has already been typed before in the chat. So when you do the first insert, you check for this condition. The value of front is equal to -1. Yes, value of front is equal to -1. What you will do? You will make front equal to also 0. So value of front and rear is both equal to 0. Clear? Okay. Next time. Now, next insert here. So I want to insert 20. So again, you are going to use this formula here. So again, now the value of rear. Now the value of rear is how much? 0. So now value of rear here is 0. So 0 plus 1 mod 5. 0 plus 1 mod 5. So you will get 1 mod 5. What is 1 mod 5? Again the answer will be 1. 1 mod 5 also answer will come as 1, because 1 you cannot divide. So what will happen? Rear will shift from index 0, rear will go to 1. Like it is shown here, rear will go to 1 and you will insert 20 there. Clear? And like this you have to keep applying this formula. So next time you're going to insert, now you're going to insert 30. So how you are going to apply the formula? Again apply this formula. What is the value of rear? Value of rear is 1. So you're going to have 1 plus 1 mod 5. So you're going to have 2 mod 5. Answer will be 2. So therefore rear will go to index 2 and you're going to insert 30 there, and so on. Okay, I will not show you the formula. I think you have understood. Any questions about that, how the formula works? Similarly, the formula will work for front also. So again, I will not show you the calculation. It's very simple. Anyone has not understood how it is to be applied? Tell me now only before we proceed. How this formula, how the rear is getting incremented, has everyone understood? Everyone? Okay. So, Prajwal, why are we not incrementing the value of front? I did this 3 steps or 4 steps, you can say. I've done 4 steps. Why are we only incrementing the value of rear and why we are not incrementing the value of front? Is Prajwal there? Prajwal, you can type the answer or you can answer. Yeah, you can answer. Why are we only incrementing the value of rear and we are not incrementing front? Okay, let's not waste time. Reeve, can you answer? Front points to the first node. Yeah, Prajwal, be careful. We are not talking about linked list now. So it is not node. We are talking about the, you can say front is pointing to the first element. node, that node word has to be mostly used with linked lists. Okay. Okay, yeah, correct. Front points to the first element. So that's why we are not incrementing front. Okay. So let's continue. Let's now, I think you have understood. So next, when we are inserting 40, again I apply that formula and ray gets incremented. So 40 gets inserted here. Okay. I insert 50 and ray gets incremented and 50 is inserted in index 4. Okay. Now you can visually see here that the queue has already become full. Okay. The queue has already become full. So before we go to the next step, suppose I tell you to insert another value. Okay. Suppose I tell you to insert another value here. Can you insert? Obviously no, because you can see here the queue is already full. So what is the condition for when queue is full? What will be the value of front and rear when the queue is full? Okay. You can look at this diagram and you can generalize. Value of front, when you see, value of front will be equal to 0. When the queue is full, value of front is equal to 0. And when the queue is full, value of rear is 4. But what is 4? How you get 4? 4 is nothing but n minus 1. Okay. 4 is nothing but n minus 1. 4 is nothing but n minus 1. Okay. So how you write the condition for Q is full? You will say value of front is equal to 0 and value of R is equal to n minus 1. So that is the time you get Q as full. Clear? How we get the condition? So this condition is what you will have to write in your program when you are writing. Okay. So when your Q is full, value of front will be equal to 0. Value of R will be n minus 1. Okay. Why n minus 1? Because size of your Q was 5 and 4 is nothing but n minus 1, which is the value of rear. So now, for example, I try to insert the next element 60. Since f is equal to 0 and r equal to n minus 1, this condition is satisfied. I will say that there is a Q overflow, or I will say that there is a Q is full. Clear? Did you get it, everyone? So this is one of the conditions for Q full. Okay, in a circular queue. Now we are studying circular queues. So this is one of the conditions for Q full. Then another condition for Q full, I will explain that later. So have you all understood this condition for Q full? How we get this value for Q full? F equal to 0 and R equal to n minus 1. Any doubts about that? Is it clear? Okay, I'll continue there. So next, suppose I want to dequeue. Okay, so dequeue means you delete the element wherever front is present. So I delete 10 and I move front ahead. So again, when you're moving front, you have to use this formula. Okay, front equal to front plus 1 mod n. Okay, apply it in the same way like I've shown you. So that time when you do that, 10 will get deleted and front will go to index 1. Okay. Again, when you apply delete in step 9, so 20 will get deleted and front will go to the next index, that is 2. Okay. Now, say I want to insert another value here now, 70. Okay, I want to insert 70 now. After this step 9, I want to insert 70. So can you calculate the value of R and tell me? Can you calculate the value of R and type in the chat? Use this formula now. When you're doing NQ, you're going to use this formula. So use that formula and tell me what will be the value of R. Present value of R is how much? Present value of R is 4. So apply this formula and tell me what will be the new value of R. Type in the chat. Apply this formula. Apply the formula. Okay, correct. Is everyone getting how that value is coming to 0? Does anyone want me to do it and show? So I'll just quickly do it here with so it is value of rare here. Value of rare here is 4. Okay. So 4 plus 1, 5. 5 mod n. N value is 5. So 5 mod 5. And you divide, you get the remainder as 0. So therefore R value will become 0. So R will shift here to index 0. Okay. So this was not possible in linear queues. In linear queues, we did not have this mod n in our increment when we were incrementing. We had just rare equal to rare plus 1. So therefore, when we would reach to this situation, when we would get to this situation in step 9, and I would tell you to insert in a linear queue, we would not be able, okay, because we had reached the end of the queue. But whereas in a circular queue, because we have made a modification to this, okay, we have put the at the end mod n. Because of that, what will happen? When you apply the formula, R will become equal to 0. So wherever R is present, there you will insert your value, that is 70. Okay, that is step 10. Everyone has understood how we are that step 10 is happening? Step 10. From step 9, how we are getting step 10? Is everyone got it? Any doubt about how we are getting that step 10? Okay. Then if I say insert, so again if I say insert, again you apply that formula, so R will go to index 1 now. Okay, and you will insert 80. Okay. Now in step 12, if I say again, you can see in step 11 your queue is become full. Okay, so when your queue is become full, observe the values of front and rear. Okay, value of front is equal to what? 2, and value of rear is 1. So if you try to generalize it, what it will be? Value of front will be equal to rear plus 1. Okay, so that means when your queue becomes full, it could be that value of front is equal to rear plus 1. So this condition here will be true. You can see here value of front is 2, value of rear is 1. So when the queue is full, front will be equal to rear plus 1. Basically, this is what will be true. Okay, when your queue is full. So this is the second condition that you have to remember for queue full while doing NQ. So if you try to insert one more value after the queue is become full, here already queue is become full, but if you try to insert one more value as in step 12, then you have to give the message queue full. Why queue is full or queue overflow? Why? Because value of front is equal to rear plus 1. So when you are writing your NQ function for circular queue, you are going to have this. You are going to write something like this. If put this inside brackets. Okay, so I'll just show you. If this condition here that I have just told you previously, if this is true, or the second condition which I just told you, the second condition, this. We're going to write something like this. Okay. So this is that first condition. Okay. Just make those parentheses proper. So if you make it proper, it will be something like this. what you're going to say, if this condition is true, okay, which is the first condition that I told you, or f equal to r plus 1, then you're going to print the message step overflow, or sorry, queue overflow, or you're going to say queue is full. Okay, otherwise you can insert if this is not true. Clear? So there are two conditions to check for queue overflow in case of a circular queue. Clear? So any doubts till step 12? Okay, then let's continue. So if I say now, okay, just made a, okay, till step 12 has everyone understood? Okay, from the step 13 to 15 is not related to the above steps. Okay, so I'll just highlight it in red. So till step 12 has everyone understood? Okay. Can you all do 3 times delete? Continue from here. Okay. Do 3 times delete and tell me what will be the value of front and rear. Do 3 times delete and tell me what will be the value of front and rear. Starting from the step 12, continue from here. So just do step 13, 14, 15 on your books and tell me what will be the value of front and rear. In case you're not able to do, I'll do it here. So when you delete this, front will go here. Okay. Rear remains at the same place. Again you delete, so this will get deleted. Front will go in ahead. Okay. Again you do delete. So this will get deleted. Okay. And rear will come here. You can check. You're getting it? Are you getting that? Are you getting this? What I got in step 15? Students, are you getting it? Apply this formula when you are doing, okay? This is the formula, front equal to front plus 1 mod n. So when you apply that formula, you will get this, what I've just done. Are you getting it? So if you continue, has everyone got this 13, 14, 15? Steps 13, 14, 15. Okay, so if you continue, again, what will be the contents of your queue? So only 80 will remain, and you will have your front and rear. Okay, and if you continue deleting, so this will be step 17. So if you continue, then your queue will become empty. There will be nothing in your queue. So now, okay, I have told you the queue full conditions. The queue full conditions are these two. there are two conditions. One I have shown in step 7 and one in step 12. Okay, I have shown you how it should be put in a if statement. That is for Q full. What can be the Q empty condition? What should you check for Q empty? Can you tell me? See, now in this step 17, Q is become empty. So before Q became empty, in step 16, what is the value of front and rear? What was the value of your front and rear? Value of front and rear was equal to 1. Okay, value of front and rear. In step 17, it's become empty. So just before it became empty, what was the value of your front and rear? Value of front and rear was 1. In other words, value of front was equal to value of rear. Okay, so what you have to do is, whenever this is the case, like in step 16, the value of front is equal to rear. Okay, that means, and you delete that element. So that means that is the last element that was present in the Q. Okay, that was the last element that was present in the Q. So when you are deleting the last element present in a circular Q, the value of front and rear is equal to each other. Okay, so in this case, the value of front and rear was equal to 1. So when you are deleting the last element of the Q, value of front and rear is equal. So when you delete the last element and the Q becomes empty, what should be the value of front and rear? Whenever the Q becomes empty, what should be the value of front and rear? Can you type? When Q becomes empty, what should be the value of front and rear? So remember, when we started with the insertion, the Q was empty. What was the value of front and rear? And we started with the NQ operation. What was the value of front and rear? Q was empty, no, that time. Value of front and rear was equal to -1. See here, I'll just show you. This here, this was the Q was empty, no? Starting. When the Q was empty, what we had said, value of front and rear will be equal to -1. So now, as we have done these various operations, okay, in step 17, Q is become empty. So just before it became empty, what is the value of front and rear? Value of front and rear was same. So what we are going to do is, we have to program it. So when the Q becomes empty, the value of front and rear should be equal to -1. So we have to do programming like this. So we will say, if value of front and Q, if value of front and Q is equal, then what we have to do? We have to make value of front equal to -1, and we have to make value of rear also equal to -1. We have to do like this programming. Okay, so see here, what we are saying here, since in this step, you can see in the diagram, in this step 16, there was only one element. So that one element was there, value of front and rear was equal. So when we delete it, the Q becomes empty. So if the Q is empty, what should be value of front and rear? Value of front and rear should be equal to -1. Okay, so this code should come in your DQ function, because now you can see we are doing delete. So step 17 is delete. So this part of the code should come in DQ. Understood? Clear? Why we are making this value front and rear equal to -1? Because after deleting, the Q has become empty. And if Q is become empty, then we need to initialize these values back to -1. Just like your step 1 here. Step 1, when we had started, Q was empty. So front and rear was -1. So same thing we have to take care in our programming. Clear? Okay. Now there's still one more thing that has been left. Can someone tell me what is the condition to be checked? to check for Q underflow, Q underflow condition. Now if I say another delete, I say another delete here. Okay, if I say another delete, what is this condition known as? That condition is known as Q underflow, right? Now if I say this step 18, I would say Q underflow. I'm trying to delete from my empty queue. What I should check to declare this message that it is a Q underflow? What should be the value of which variable should we check? Whenever you're deleting, which variable we refer to? When you're doing delete operation, which variable we refer to, front or rear? Front. So whenever you're checking for Q underflow, you should check for the front variable or you should check for the rear variable? You should check for the front variable, and you should check for the front variable. See, it's continuation. Now I'm just showing you in continuous to make it easy for you. So this, your in step 17, your queues become empty. Again, I'm telling you to delete from the empty queue. So in the here, what you have done, the value of front, you have done the value of front is equal to -1. Correct? Here I just highlighted. You have already made the value of front equal to -1. If there's going to be a queue underflow, what will be the value of front? Value of front will be equal to -1. So here you will check for the condition if f equal to -1, if f equal to -1, then that means there is a Q underflow. Correct? Okay. So this is the condition to check for a Q empty or Q underflow. Okay. So in your DQ operation, these two conditions will come. Okay. And when you are doing the normal delete, this will be the formula you are going to use for that delete. For your NQ operation to check for Q full, you are going to check for this condition or this condition. The conditions that are specified in step 7 and step 12. And the formula for incrementing rear is this. Okay. So I hope you have understood this. Any doubts about it? Yeah, Saish has typed the answer, f equal to -1. Okay. Any doubts about this? Okay. Then we'll stop with the class. Okay. I want you all to try this program. Okay, for circular queue. You can try this program today. Before I stop the class, can you all tell me you all are facing any difficulty in doing the homework? Does anyone need extra time? Or is okay, you all have managed to do it? All of you have done the homework? If anyone is not having a laptop or a computer and not able to type it in a Word document, you can write it on a page. Okay, write the answer, the program, whatever on a page. Solve your homework on a notebook. Click photos and upload those photos. Okay. So you, if in case some of you are not having a laptop or a desktop or you're not able to do it, then you can do it. You can just message me and tell me that you're not able to have, and then I can suggest some other ways. Okay. So if in case all of you are having a computer and laptop, then fine. Otherwise, you can write it on your notebooks and take a photo and upload that. So I think no one has told me anything about your homework. So I think all of you will upload it by 4:30. So today by 4:30, all should be able to upload it. Okay. So take care till tomorrow. So tomorrow morning lecture will discuss some things about your IT. Just remind me in the morning tomorrow to discuss about your IT. Okay. I'll tell you what will be the pattern of your paper and what you should be studying. What are the type of questions you can expect. I'll not tell you which question will be coming, but what type of questions can come. Okay, so till then, take care.